to Further Yoga. This is going to be a Yoga 101. And I teach a lot of yoga classes, and one thing that I notice in all of my yoga classes is that there's always space to go back over the basics. So whether or not you are brand new to yoga or you've been doing yoga, for many years, we always can recommit ourselves to the basics of our practice, because the basics of our practice, that's what makes it. That's what makes the alignment. So today, we're going to go over mountain pose. And we're just going to stand. We're just going to do feet, from our feet to standing up. That's all we're going to do right now. And that really is enough. So if you're brand new, you're going to carry this with you forever. And if not, here we go. We're going to revisit it. So let's see. So mountain pose, Tadasana. It is fundamental yoga pose, and every single pose that you do is mountain pose. That's how I teach it. Like, every pose is mountain pose. So you want to learn the alignment of mountain pose and understand why you're doing it. So everything starts with a firm foundation in yoga, and sometimes your hands are your foundation. But today, for mountain pose, it's our feet, right? So, and there are lots of different styles of yoga, so if the way that you do it or you've been taught is different, then there's really room for everyone. And I teach, my yoga, the way that I practice. So this is the way I do it, and I'm always open to change. So, but thus far in my yoga journey, this is the way I do mountain pose. So you want to take a look at your feet. There they are. And you want to really stand with them about hip width apart, like not outside of your hips, but like just underneath your hips. You want like the straight line here, right? And feet are so important, you guys, and the way that you engage the mat with your feet is important. That's yoga, just the way your feet hit the mat. So you want to use all four corners of your feet, and I thought that was a very strange way to say that when I first started going to yoga classes. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Because my feet aren't, square. But what it means is the ball joint of your big toe, the ball joint of your little toe, and both sides of your heel. These are your pressure points. This is where you want to really like push down into the mat, right? And then I went to classes for many years, and the teacher would say, now wiggle your toes. And the thing is we don't use our toes like claws in yoga. Like, you really want to get really firm and grounded so that you never have to grab a hold of the mat with your toes. But another thing about your toes is, so just we're standing here, let your toes relax onto the mat. Now, lift them up, all of them. Do you feel how the arch of your foot is activated by lifting your toes up? So your foot just comes alive. They're active. Every part of your body is active in the practice of yoga. So your toes will be planted on the mat, but you'll have that lifting up of the center arch, just as if you picked them all up all at once, right? So all four corners of your toes are really planted firmly into the mat, and then you're lifting up through the arch. Remember, lift your toes if you have forgotten, and then you can just gently let your toes go back down to the mat. So this is how we start, and everything is energetic in yoga as well. So this is where we start to bring the energy, the prana, up into our body. Is right through our feet. Active feet, firmly planted. The energy is shifting up, right? And then come on up the legs. Legs are active at just the way your toes. I heard teachers say hug your muscle to like the bone to the skin, and that was another thing where I'm like, what does that mean? Just the way you lifted your toes and activated your feet, your whole body is that way, but the joints are not locked out. So really active legs, but soft knees, right? So like You never want to lock anything out. That's, we want to be safe in our yoga practice. So you want to have soft, just a micro bend will do in your knees, but bent. And then you travel on up. So we come here to the pelvis. So this is where our first energy lock is, and we'll go over this later in more depth, but it's called the Mula Bandha, and it's your root lock, and it's the way of directing the energy. So you engage the arch of your foot, you start to draw the prana from the earth up the legs, you get to the Mula Bandha, the root lock, and the way you do that is your tailbone and your pelvic bone, they both point down. So you drop your tailbone and you engage your pelvic bone at the same time, and the way that I cue that is I say, pull in the pit of your stomach, right? So it's that transverse abdominis. You want to really pull in the pit of your belly to help drop that pelvic bone, and then you drop the tailbone, right? So everything comes together just like that. That is engaging your Mula Bandha, right? So pit of your belly pulls in, tailbone drops, feet are lifting up, energy everywhere, soft knees, and then you're gonna come right here to your navel, in and up, right? And then your shoulder blades. So a lot of people will round their shoulders just naturally, because that's kind of how we all sit around all day, is with our shoulders rounded. So what you want to think of is always for that chest to be open. And the way I feel about it is I like to teach the breath so much that I say, get the breath all the way through. So if you're pinching over, you're leaning forward, you cut it off. Like you're cutting the breath off, and you really want to feel that energy in the breath. Pull all the way through, right? So you bring your shoulder blades together just a little bit behind your back, and if your arms if you have a rotation where you're rounding, pull those shoulders back into their sockets, pull them back, bring the shoulder blades together, and then you just like relax the arms, right? And they're not locked out, they're just naturally right here by your side, but your whole body is present. You are present, and then the crown of your head lifts up nice and tall. You want to get length everywhere, and you're empowered from the bottom of your feet through the tip of your head. And this is mountain pose, and it's active. So just standing here, your entire body is engaged. So let's see that from the side. So here's me just standing, just normally, and then here's mountain pose. So mountain pose, I want to push down into my feet, engage my Mula Bandha, shoulder blades, pull back just a little bit. Make sure your arms are not pulling forward, pull them back into alignment. So you really want to, it's like you're stacking your joints, and we're all built differently, so stack your joints can be like kind of an antiquated prop, because we're all humans and we all look different. So just really try to imagine that, like ankles under your knees, under your hips, under your shoulders, and then, your ears, everything just is lined up. Lower belly is engaged. And then you just want to stand up nice and tall, right? And then now check your feet, right? So I will cue this a lot. Check your feet. How are they planted in the mat? Lift your toes up. Feel the arch of your foot. Get really dynamic and activated, right? Legs are all fired up, right? You're hugging the muscle in the bone to the skin. So everything is empowered. You're like a little lightning rod. That's how I like to think of it. Like we're conducting our own energy here, and it starts at the feet and it travels up the whole body and down through the whole body, and that is yoga, and it's exciting. So just standing here, we have great purpose, you guys. Mountain pose. And then you just breathe into it. Big full breath in. Full breath out. Breathe in. Breathe out. I'm just standing here. It's active. I'm actively, adjusting my feet, re-engaging my pelvic bone and my tailbone. Navel's pulling up. Shoulders. It's just, you make these constant slight adjustments, but it's part of holding the alignment through your yoga pose. And it's a mindless thing. You learn the alignment in the beginning, just like we're doing now, and then it makes sense. It becomes muscle memory, and then you will start to just naturally hold your body that way. I used to just kind of sit hunched over all the time, and now naturally I just sit up nice and tall. It's muscle memory, it's practice. So every day if you practice that posture, your body will remember that, and it feels good, and you might be taller soon. I don't know. You probably so. So that is Yoga 101, Tadasana, mountain pose. Namaste.